Welcome, friends,
to the How-To Heretic.
I'm Uncle Mark.
And I'm Uncle Dan.
And I'm Uncle Doug.
And this is your user's guide to life on the outside.
That's right. Leaving religion is the first step into a larger, better world.
But it can also be a scary world. Things work differently now.
Never fear. That's why we're here.
We're your audio uncles. And with help from good friends and experts in all sorts of fields,
we're going to share the stories and seek the knowledge to build a great life.
After all, you only get one that we know of, so you'd better make the most of it.
Uncles,
hello.
What a weekend. What an event.
Where even are we?
I don't know. It's apparently called Cincinnati. Nobody knows if that's even a thing.
Nobody, yeah.
But here we are live from the Netherlands Plaza Hilton.
I mean, we're live to us. We're not live to those listening.
Yeah, we'll be long dead when you hear this.
We're dead to them. That's right.
And here we are, episode 83.
Yeah.
This week brought to you by Botany 500. If you are in the market for some wash and wear slacks and sport coats, and it's 1974 Botany 500.
Is it 1974?
Somewhere.
Somewhen.
I learned yesterday that's how time zones work. So, wow. We're gonna talk about some crazy shit today, but before we do that, we just want to talk for a couple seconds about our fun time we've had here with the American Atheists.
Yeah, we've been attending the American Atheists convention here, and it's Easter weekend.
Yeah, and we can confirm everyone's a sad, angry nihilist.
They're all just miserable,
hateful
drunks,
ugly drunks,
ugly drunks. At the bar at last call gets pretty crazy downstairs. So, we met a ton of great people. We met Matt Dillahunty, and we met Eric Murphy from Talk Heathen, and the sweet people from Camp Quest, which is very cool. And, the Mormon Links guys, and of course our friend Daryl Ray from Recovering from Religion and Secular Therapy Project. Ton of listeners and some new ones.
Yeah.
So it was well worth the coin, I think.
I don't think so.
And then yesterday happened.
Everything kind of went to shit.
So this week, everyone, on a very special How To Heretic.
Yeah.
Which means a not funny comedy show.
Right. A very special is 80s for this sucks.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of moralizing in this in this blossom. But we had a little adventure yesterday that was kind of a 3-part. Much like Easter,
descent into hell,
descent into derp. So, join us, won't you? And we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, I think you guys. This is going to be fun.
Yeah. All right, let's do the show.
Hey there. Yesterday we didn't just stay at the convention.
No, we took a lift from a very nice Christian lady promoting.
Yeah, that was,
oh my God!
What a way to start the day.
Her Easter event.
We jump into her lift, and the first thing I noticed is that on her console, like it was a minivan.
Yeah,
and
of course it was a minivan.
And on her little console next to her, but facing us, was a little Tupperware filled with flyers for her church.
For their Easter service. We should have taken one. Dan did take a picture, and I think I tweeted it out. So, there are the stations of the cross for the agonies and the passion of our friend Jesus. And we, yesterday, traveled the stations of our cross. Luckily, there were only 3.
Yeah.
But boy, what a station they were.
Yeah, indeed.
So we want to start our little extravaganza by talking about something, quite a misnomer right there in the title, the Creation Museum.
Wait, which one's the misleading one? Creation or museum?
Oh, wow. You just blew what tiny bit is left of my mind.
Yeah,
we're careful. We're in a fragile state today.
Sorry about it. We might be dumber than we've been before.
Yeah,
certainly.
This is going to be the dumbest episode.
we literally gained stupid as we walked through.
Right. I just could feel the intelligence just coming out of the front of my skull,
sucked out of you.
Yeah,
one of us converted to Christianity. We'll let you know which one at the end of the show.
Yeah, it's a surprise. So we traveled to who the fuck cares, Kentucky.
Mitch McConnell's country.
And Mitch McConnell country. And
if there's ever a scarier term than that.
Yeah.
And we're not happy to realize that, despite our efforts, Ken Ham and Ray Comfort had not deigned to discount our the invitation they extended for us to come to their wonderlands.
Which we will talk about, that quote-unquote invitation.
Right.
And how generous it was.
Asterisk.
Right.
So, as you pull around the corner on your way to the Creation Museum, you see these huge gates with Stegosaurus on top, and I'm like, all right, this is going to be good.
Here we go.
It's amazing how hard they hit the dinosaur thing. It's clear that like what launched this whole endeavor for Ken Ham and his ilk is that they had to square the circle of where the dinosaurs came from and how they fit into the biblical narrative.
And spoiler alert, they failed.
Right. But they've spent gobs of money and just so much time trying to figure out a place where dinosaurs actually work in their narrative.
They have twisted the truth into another dimension.
It's really amazing. So as we walk, so yes, you see dinosaurs as you pull up to the thing, and then you go inside the building, and there are all of these displays talking about dragons.
Yeah. Well, first
throughout history. Yeah.
First, you have to get past a virtual parking lot of ability scooters.
Oh yeah.
Right. Now I'm glad they're there.
Which we considered renting.
Gave a strong second thought to renting.
But didn't do it.
And then later we discovered that they do have a backup beep. But so you get past, know your audience. We got past this forest of ability scooter, a flotilla, and then Dan's right. There's all of the legends of the dragons from all over the world,
like multiple displays. That just sort of scattered throughout the halls leading up to the place.
Dragon legends in Asia, dragon legends in South America.
Right, and sort of highlighting different things about dragons and whatever. And what's funny is I was expecting them to then draw the line to then tell us what they're saying, which is all of these dragon things, because the Bible has dragons. What they're saying is, don't worry, the Bible has dragons, and those dragons are, drumroll,
Yeah.
the dinosaurs. Well, they don't make that connection. They just they skip that and just assume that you're going to make that connection.
What seems easy to infer is, look at all these crazy mythologies about dragons. Don't worry, the Bible is one too.
Yeah, my favorite one that they listed was Herodotus's dragon thing about some theory about how there are dragons in Arabia that fly and they try to get across the sea,
but something ate them.
But ibises, their ibis birds would kill.
Yes,
these dragons.
They're frail, long-legged ibis birds.
Right, yeah. The ferocious ibis.
This is a
dragon
theme
slayer.
that will continue throughout all of this discussion today. Is an attempt to argue a point by completely fucking up the argument about the point.
Right.
Don't, we'll get to it later, but there's another reference to other flood narratives. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that doesn't help you.
Right.
Right? The universality of these ideas.
Guys, it's your museum. You can leave out anything you want to.
Right. The people in South America and Australia that had flood narratives, are older or ran concurrent to the Bible. It's not an idea that spread out from the actual flood.
Right.
Like a flood.
Yours came later than Gilgamesh, remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's the same with the dragon thing. It's like, yes, the night was dark and full of monsters. And before we knew what the fucking world was and nature, what is it and how does it work, there was a constant combining the scariest things into one chimera and, frightening each other with it.
Right.
So it doesn't help you to say, well, the Leviathan in the Bible is just another
Dragon
thing,
legend.
and then all of a sudden, dinosaur.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, remember, there were those several panels when we first walked in that were kind of stating the evolutionary perspective on time and the history of the Earth and the history of the universe, and then their perspective, God's word. And I have to say, they stated the evolution argument really well,
and really kind of killed theirs.
Yeah.
It was interesting. They were trying to be fair enough. They definitely didn't give the honest background as to why these are believable things and why there's such accepted science.
Right.
But they did
but why
fairly reasonably outline the evolutionary position.
Yeah, why choose that point in time to be fair?
Yeah, right. Right. Of all the things.
Yeah, they were very informational infographics that
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm convinced evolution.
Yeah, you got it.
Well, what's really funny is their point of view also has evolution in it. They just refuse to use the word.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, as we'll discuss, they believe that God put all of the animals and all the plants as they were, as they are basically
Day 1 through 6.
Yeah.
onto the earth, then killed off everything but 2 or 7 of everything, during the flood, which we'll talk about the flood. Right. That's a big deal in their whole thing.
Right. But
and then from there, and of course they had to wrestle with the problem of you can't fit 2 of however many million species on a boat.
Yeah,
So
well-
they go with this word which we will come back to many times. Kinds.
Kind. Yeah.
So
Yes.
it's not species,
Right.
It's kinds.
Right.
So like all of the dogs that we have, all of the cats, including the wild big cats and the little baby cats and all of the things, all came from 2 cats
yes.
Yeah.
that were on the boat. And there were 2 dogs, like wolves
Yes.
or whatever, that were on the boat.
As we learned later, there were 2 scorpions.
Right.
Right.
And now, as when we learned at the museum, there are 1,700 scorpion species. And,
Right.
And
And all of those came from those first 2 dogs and first 2 scorpions.
right,
Which means
4,300 years ago.
Which means that in less than 5,000 years, everything has evolved so much. We've evolved all of these different breeds and kinds of species from these original kinds. Well, guess what, kids? You believe in evolution.
Yeah, you
Right.
believe in it in a crazy way.
Yeah, you
Right.
believe it in a staggeringly rapid way.
Yeah, exactly. This shit happened lightning fast in sort of geologic
Right.
time speaking.
So every time they dip their toe in science,
Yeah.
or mythology, right, or world
Right.
history, anytime they dip their toe in science to try to point by point, rather than what creationists have long done, which is just like, well, fuck off, the Earth's 6,000 years old, go away.
Right.
Yeah.
Dinosaurs are Satan's thing put in the brain.
Yeah, I mean,
They're
that's
like,
the easy.
no.
There's an easy out here.
Yeah.
which is just God did it. We don't know how. We don't know what. We don't know all the answers.
Right.
Yeah.
But the Bible's true, and God did
But
it.
these guys have taken an entirely different strategy.
Yeah.
Which is they're going to step into the ring with actual science
Yeah.
and go for a TKO in the first round.
Right.
And that was my sports a day calendar.
You
Again.
did it.
Thank you. Tomorrow, cricket. But they think they get a TKO in the first round every time, and it's like, well, yeah, because you hit yourself in the head.
Right. Exactly.
You knocked your own damn self out.
Right.
So, well, I mean, we won't stop talking about this fucking science stuff, but then.
Well, and just to clarify Dan's point, so the kind thing is biblical, right?
You're right.
And that's where they really latched onto that word. So it's every beast after his kind.
Right.
2 by 2. And
So-
that
and-
is that word carries a lot of weight for these guys.
And what's really funny is that they're like, oh, the science is wrong. It's terrible, and blah blah blah. Kinds, not species, and blah blah blah. And then what they're actually saying is like, what, genus?
Yeah,
Phylum?
yeah, maybe. Yeah,
you know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah.
Like we have taxonomy. Don't worry. We could actually, you can use, but they can't use our words. So they definitely, they go for their own, although they confuse their damn selves
Yes.
all the time.
Yeah.
We went to we left early. We went to a quote animal show, if
Yeah.
you can call it that. It was really pathetic. In a conference room in the basement
Yeah.
of the Creation Museum.
Got Uncle Doug a little too close to a scorpion.
Yeah, Uncle
Yeah.
Doug is not good with arachnids, so that was not that. You were
It's almost.
Uncle Mark and I were checking in with. Is he going to be okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would have stomped on every one of those kids to get out of that room if
yeah.
they pulled a spider out.
But let me tell you something. The presenter kept jumping back and forth between like species and just and talking. Here's the thing: they are so confused. They use science words. They know a lot of the science.
Yeah.
And they use a lot of the science. They want to be
Right.
taken seriously.
This is the deeply cynical. Actually, it's the insidious nature of this program that Ken Ham and the Creation Museum and the Ark Encounter and everything have created, which is not to just be like, we're biblical literalists, we know we're weird, leave us alone. It is an intentional blurring of the lines between their junk and true science by making it just a little too complicated for your average, Joe Trailer Park.
Right.
And his kids, most insidiously, going through there. So it's, what do kids like? Dinosaurs. Kids like bugs, right?
Yeah.
Kids like animals. So,
Yeah.
of course, you're going to take them to see the dinosaur shit at this place.
Right.
And then, that is just rolling up the sleeve on their arm so you can just inject the poison.
Yeah, and this will be a theme, but what I imagine kids don't like is random terrifying animatronics.
I think some of them might like it. You got your weirdo kids.
Well, that brings me back to what I wanted to talk about was the sheer number of, unfortunately, not properly functioning Adam and Eve animatronics.
Oh my God.
They hit the heteronormative Adam and Eve sexy time. That's like a third of the museum.
Yeah.
And when you say sexy time, I mean, of course, Adam and Eve weren't clothed, so they have to wrestle with that. But you don't have to make, like, it's your museum.
Yeah.
You don't have to make these two naked people sort of vaguely covered in different ways,
Wearing their own hair.
gazing sexily into each other's eyes.
Yeah, they're lying in a forest,
Yeah.
and Adam's just laying down for a beach.
She totally.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
looks like she's going in.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they're on a Tahitian vacation in
Right.
a water lily pond.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, man, I'm kind of getting sprung in here. This is like
it was hilariously sexual.
Yeah.
hilarious, and they just kept doing it, and I'm like, okay, this is a family place,
Right.
You know what, though? You've jumped the gun a little bit because I do want to say that the first thing that we actually saw
yeah.
when we walked in, first of all, we saw two guys letting people put snakes on themselves, like live actual like snakes, and have their picture taken
Yeah.
with these things. Which I later went and asked them what that has to do with the Creation Museum, and he said, "Oh no, the owner of the snakes every Saturday does a does a presentation, and he ties it in with God."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, so nothing?
Right.
So this has nothing to do with this thing?"
And in the story of Adam and Eve, it's a very specific character.
Right? Yeah, exactly. That's
Not a good one.
Right? Exactly.
Well, but remember, he's just the snake. He's not Satan.
Right. Well, fair
Right.
enough.
Right.
but he's still the asshole that like ruined paradise for everybody.
Well, actually, that was Eve. I think the museum made that very clear to us.
Right. But I'm just going to point out that the second thing that we saw was the first animatronics that we saw
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
were there was a big waterfall feature with live fish and turtles swimming in the pool at the bottom, and an animatronic little person, boy or girl, couldn't tell.
Kind of Chaka from Land of the Lost.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah, and speaking of Land of the Lost, two raptors
Yeah.
grazing happily next
next to
to
him.
this child
Two animals that had humans existed alongside of them.
would have been food.
Right. That boy would have been picked clean.
Yeah, exactly.
And he was feeding like not a stuffed not a taxidermied squirrel, but like a stuffed animal
Like
squirrel.
you'd find on a little girl's bed.
Yeah, that you buy at the airport for your
Right.
kid.
Yeah.
So he's feeding some kind of carrot, and the only motion they could generate with this thing was
Was basically a jack off.
he was jacking off with this carrot.
Yeah.
So I see what you're doing, Creation Museum. Thank you.
Yeah. So then, sorry. Then we've passed that. We walk in. That's when we start to see the animatronic Adams and Eves, the various pastiches.
And some of the crazy thing was, and this became a kind of a really difficult part of the day, was maybe 30% of the mannequins were animatronic, and you never know which one was going to
Right.
move.
So it was more like a haunted house. You didn't know what was going to jump.
Most of them, a lot of them didn't move.
Yeah.
But as you said earlier, Doug, or as you said to us, you spend a lot of the time like looking at them, waiting for them. Are you going to move? Because the ones that did move, most of them, there would be these long pauses
Yes.
of stillness, and then suddenly,
Yeah.
or worse yet, they'll have like sound,
Yeah.
So like at one point, I thought I was in a room with still mannequins because they had been still for just long enough that I was like, "Oh, I'm safe." And one of them goes, "Bruh," and I was ah.
I know.
Yeah.
That one sweeping woman way at the encounter.
It was totally Westworld.
Yeah, she just opened her eyes. It scared the fuck out of me.
Yeah, one of the women on the Ark without names. We'll get to it. But and then we got to Methuselah.
Oh my god. Methuselah was amazing. He was telling full stories. He was
Methuselah was a 1849 prospector.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he looked like one of the California raisins now. Right?
Somebody left it out for too long.
And there's another theme I don't know if you guys detected at the Creation Museum, and that is the secret to biblical cuisine. Gourds. Oh my gourd, there were so many gourds.
Yes,
there were so many fucking gourds. What the museum's gourd budget alone was probably exceeded the animatronic budget.
That's right. There was a line item on the budget for the construction.
For gourds. Yeah, it was. So yes, Methuselah was actually. I took some video of it. Maybe I'll post it on our Facebook
And he was
page.
well articulated. Like he shifted
he,
in his.
Well, he was one of the ones that
Yeah.
he was one of the ones that they invested. Some real money in because he's telling a story. He's telling all these stories about. Well, I was 900 years old, and Noah came to me and said, blah, blah, blah.
And then I found gold.
What a day it was when the heavens were separated from the waters.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So that was terrifying. And then you turn a corner, and suddenly you're in this room where there are pictures of Holocaust victims.
Oh boy!
And acts of extreme violence, and not cynically at all, the Twin Towers on fire,
Right.
And all of this horribleness. And it says this is all because of sin.
Yeah.
Yes. So what they're not just telling the narrative of the Bible; they're telling the narrative of our Earth, and the way that worked was that when Adam and Eve, there was creation. They had the 7 C's of whatever, like the letter
Creation,
C, creation, and then something
consummation, come.
Yeah, exactly.
Cut, clarity, and color.
Yeah. And then they so like somehow the fall of Adam and Eve brought sin into the world and death into the world, and there was a whole thing with dinosaurs that was like they weren't carnivorous until after Adam and Eve fell.
There was a carnivorous dinosaur model eating a watermelon. Right?
Yeah.
And so yeah. Apparently, the fall of Adam and Eve brought meat and sin into the world, and that's when all of the terrors began.
Yeah, and just an aside, I know that's like long been a story to creationist dinosaurs were vegetarians, which is why these huge animals have fucking shark's teeth.
Right.
Anyway, but why do they hate vegetarians?
Right, exactly.
Because that was supposed to be the ideal time.
Well, and it was a commandment to only eat. Matter of fact, on one of the displays that I saw, it was a commandment. I guess this was in the Ark, but they talked about it. It said that there was a commandment to only eat vegetables.
Yeah.
No meat, which was in effect until after Noah. So Just because God later in the book says it's okay to eat meat, surely they should be pleased with someone who's eating as the old godly times required.
I know what y'all out there are thinking. Isn't going to a quote history museum unquote supposed to unconfuse you and help clarify things? Well, this is a whole new museum science theory, I suppose.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
exactly. The Obfuscation Museum.
We got past the 9/11 attacks being blamed on sin,
right,
and not the religious fanatics who did it. And then you start getting into it was like the geology,
science.
Yeah. So then the Grand Canyon happened in a week
during the flood.
Yeah,
the flood created, and they have all of these ways that they justify. And they're smart about it. Believe me, the amount of brain power, I got to give props to them. They put in a lot of effort figuring out how the flood caused everything.
Yeah.
Everything?
Yeah.
Everything.
Every geological feature you see now was caused in the flood.
All the fossils, all the canyons, all the everything. It wasn't, all the layers of sediment that we now look at and we say, oh, those were billions of years of rock formation and sediment and whatever.
And slow erosion.
Yeah.
That was 1 year.
Yep.
And we can prove it.
Yeah.
And just don't read anything else.
And which one?
Only read our material.
Which one of you guys was talking about the amazing science fact of where the water went?
Yeah, right. Well, there was a moment. There was a display. I think this was. I don't know where this was. There was a display that was talking about how the flood could have happened, and it talked about, the Lord opening up vents of like lava heat in the ocean, which then caused so much of the water to evaporate and become clouds. And that's how the flood started. And I'm like, yeah, but you still have exactly the same volume of water.
Right.
It doesn't, when it comes back down, it doesn't then cover the earth with more water.
Right.
If that's what you're claiming,
it's a closed fucking system.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can't add water to the system by evaporating it and having it come back down. You have to go with God made a miracle.
Yeah.
You can't go with science made, like God made science do the flood.
God made enough water to cover Mount Everest.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
And every other damned thing.
Unless it was made by the flood. I don't know.
Well, this is tangential, but I remember when I was young and Mormon, they would talk about how if you made the earth perfectly flat, it would be covered in water. There's enough water to cover the earth.
Okay.
But that was not something that these guys talked about.
That's not what they were claiming.
Nope.
I mean, the ark landed on a mount.
On Mount Ararat. And the Bible is full of references to mountains. They love to talk. As afraid as the Bible is of birds, it's as fond of mountains, right? They talk about mountains all the time. So they're not claiming the earth was one giant fucking mud flat. No. Right? So, and these guys, interestingly, there is that creationist gobbledygook about the outer ocean or that there's an ocean orbiting the earth. Right? We're inside of another ocean. They didn't claim that.
There's the waters. This is what's brilliant. What's amazing about Ken Ham's mission in life is that it's about taking what real science says and then just desperately trying to square the circle.
Yeah.
And he's playing the God of the Gaps game all the way through.
Yeah.
And he's just it's an impossible game for him to win.
Well,
but boy,
damn, he's going to play it.
See, and we've gone back and forth about whether there is an earnest heart behind all of this or it's just a deeply cynical scam.
And I think our conclusion is it can be both things.
Yeah,
I'm leaning way more towards scam because
¿Por qué no los dos?
Because somewhere in there, look, there are religious scientists, I don't think that's what's happening here. I think there are people who learned enough about paleontology or geology, but a fair amount, and then they said, okay, here's how we can cherry pick this little thing. Out, some level of uncertainty.
We have to be deceptive.
Yeah, we have to deceive, and
right.
And I am reading the infographics at this place. There's very clearly a mind trying to make it a bit confusing.
Oh yeah,
right.
And it's more than a bit.
Yeah,
it's actually very confusing, and I think purposefully so on a lot of occasions.
Yeah.
Like it's not always that way. But just as we talked about with the dragon thing, where they don't actually draw the full line, there are so many moments where they're like they don't even present to you why they're presenting this information. Like what they're doing is they'll make an argument that's against a modern theory.
Yeah,
but they don't tell you that this is an argument against a modern theory. They just have a display about Mount St. Helens and they don't really explain where it's coming from. So
I had to ask you, I'm like, what's the point of this?
Right.
And you shouldn't have to ask that question in a museum.
Right, yeah, exactly. It's very confusing and not well presented a lot of the time.
Right. And it's also, there'll be a little bit of a consistent through line. Like in the geology place, you're like, okay, here's sediment, here's erosion, whatever. but then you just bonk your head into this Bible verse.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait. What are you like? If you're trying to be scientific, the best thing you could do is just dispense with this Bible shit and just lie in support of it.
Right.
But they just keep it. It's like they can't stop tripping over their own dick. But we can see through that. But as we're joined by our friend and listener, this other guy, Mark, who've heard families saying, "Oh, that's how that happened.
Right.
Oh, that's how they did that."
Right. Yeah.
And of course, mom and dad with 5 kids don't have time to get a PhD in paleontology or geography.
Right.
So they're just going to trust. They're going to trust the information that's put in front of them.
And I think what the real point of this museum is, and this is what we sort of the conclusion we came to, is that the point of this museum is to provide enough cover that when their kids come home from school and someone says dinosaurs, they don't have to say what Christians said sort of before this, which was either, well, we don't know, or, well, God just put those dinosaurs into the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
But now they can say, yes, the dinosaurs are real. We accept the dinosaurs are real. We know what happened. The flood, God done it. And we have enough science-sounding words that we can feel confident in that.
And we've gone through this enormous song and dance.
Right.
So that we can still say the literal truth of the book of Genesis holds.
Right.
Right.
Which of all the books to hold on to, that's the worst one, guys.
And the one that nobody would really expect you to.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Everyone will forgive you if you say
it's myth.
It's it's not it's figurative.
Right.
Everyone would be fine with that.
Right. And the other thing is, the audience that's going to this, unless it's us, right, or our listeners, is generally a pretty credulous, trusting audience,
right,
who has been taught not to question what people in authority are saying.
Tell them any damn thing,
right?
They will, if you say Jesus said so, they'll be like, yes, correct.
While we're laughing about it, I'm laughing about it standing behind some 9-year-old who is looking at this and accepting it as true.
Yes.
Right? And so that's the fucking poison.
Well, their parents are the ones that are accepting it as true. The 9-year-olds are just looking at the dinos, which I think this is their fatal flaw. The fatal flaw of
you said this yesterday.
This museum is that what they're doing is they are making a lot of kids excited about dinosaurs, about paleontology, about insects. They've got a whole insect room with all of these gorgeous
displays of like every kind of stag beetle, every kind of rhinoceros beetle.
And let me tell you something. It'll make you believe in evolution.
Right.
You see all of those kinds. And even if it doesn't make you believe in evolution as a kid, if you get excited about it, you're going to want to go learn more about it.
That's right.
If you go down that rabbit hole, even the tiniest bit too far, oh, oopsie doodle, guess what you've just learned.
Yeah, that's the hope. And I was much more cynical about it. But there was a moment where we were sitting in the really sad little animal show, surrounded by obviously all Elizabeth Warren or Kamala Harris supporters.
Right, yeah, clearly. And, Mayor Pete. They're all for Mayor Pete.
And the very, very kindly liar at the front of the room that's there to kind of lie to kids about what animals are kept asking questions like, "Oh, what's this?" And there was one little guy, right? He was like 7,
maybe
7 or 8, and he was wearing a T-shirt that said it had a little proton thing on it. It said "Be positive."
Right? Yeah, it had an
sciencey
atom
thing.
Yeah,
with the protons.
An atom, not Adam.
And he was answering every question, and he was dead on right. And I'm like, okay.
That kid's
this kid's going to be all right.
Guess which one's leaving the church tomorrow?
Yeah. So maybe you're right, Uncle Dan. Maybe there's some hope there. But as we got towards the end of the museum, I could feel my brain dissolving.
Right.
So I don't remember much of what happened.
Yeah, there's not much else. We actually, then
it was all about Jesus. Then it was like a whole Jesus section.
Yeah, and there was a lot more stupid. At one point, we found a hallway that had like bones of different animals, and there was one display that had a full skeleton of a human and a full skeleton of the ape, and the human is holding a Bible.
Fucking ridiculous.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But you know what? There's not much more to it. We walked out through a lovely garden, a very
did.
beautiful garden.
But let's not pass up on the fact that there are, between those two museums, there were probably 24 gift shops.
Yeah,
God.
And I will say, just from a public space sort of design, half the time I was in the Creation Museum, I thought I was lost.
Yeah.
I thought I was in like the staff area.
Right, yeah.
Like I'd turn out of an exhibit and I'm in some hallway with like lockers and I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, fuck.
exactly.
And some guy'd be like, no, you're fine.
What's really funny is that a good portion of the time, though, there were some very impressive, very beautifully done displays.
Oh, the dioramas were amazing.
Dioramas were banging.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
But then there'd just be garbage.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then empty room.
Yeah, exactly.
And then blind corner and you can't figure out how to get out of there.
So it was a very confusing. The Creation Museum was a very confusing experience on the whole.
By design.
Yeah,
And I got to give a shout out to that kid who was working
unintelligent
there.
design, by the way.
Oh, the kid who was working there. Yeah.
Yeah, we were trying to find a way out, and somehow we'd ended up going down onto the lower floor, not knowing we'd done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was like a very slight incline.
it winds its way down
Yeah.
very, very gently, and you don't notice that you've gone down a floor.
And I asked this kid, I'm like, how do we get out? And he's like, oh, you're down, you got to go up. I'm like, how did that happen? He's like, oh, everything after the Garden of Eden is downhill.
Yeah, he made the little joke.
Good joke.
Oh, good job, kid. So then the best thing happened. We left.
Yes, indeed. And with that,
let's move on.
We'll take a little break. Well, fellas,
Yeah.
Hello.
we left the Creation Museum.
Yeah, because we felt like we needed to go on a little ocean voyage.
Right.
Because we weren't dumb enough yet.
And after stopping in the middle of nowhere in Kentucky for a lovely bit of southern food.
That was the best part of the day.
By the way, you go 10 miles south of the river from Ohio into Kentucky, and suddenly everyone's talking different, and y'alls start coming out.
Yeah.
It was very
It's a
strange.
rapid change.
that-
Yeah, it was Arkansas, 1894.
So after that, we drove for a little under an hour to
The Ark Encounter.
Ark
Yay.
Encounter.
Well, actually, we drove to the biggest parking.
Oh, my God.
The most aspirational parking lot.
it really was.
You know how Disney has a parking lot, and it's got the princesses,
And you take the tram.
You take the tram.
Yeah.
That parking lot at Disney and Disneyland and Anaheim, California, could fit in half of Ken Ham's parking lot.
For real.
Yeah.
And what's amazing about that is then you have to take a bus a fairly long distance.
Yeah, the property is fucking huge.
Oh, and remember, in the parking lot, there was no signage.
No.
So, like, I mean, if you...
you know what to do. You just get out of your car and...
Yeah, it doesn't tell you where to park or where to go after you've parked.
kind of have
You
to
just have to
figure
sort
it
of
out.
like
So you head towards
around.
these sheds.
right, yeah.
You're like, oh, there's buses at these sheds. That must be something.
Right. And what's amazing is like if they had put the parking lot right next to the thing,
Yeah.
they could have saved all of their
Yeah.
tram money, all of this bus money.
Exactly.
You can't see it from the parking lot, can you?
You can't see it.
Yeah.
No. So then we hop on the bus, and it takes us in, and
You buy a ticket from a sweet homeschool kid.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, and they really wanted that kind of welcome to Jurassic Park moment.
Yes.
You know, where you see the Ark and...
They've got you captive in the bus, so they're playing audio at you that repeats a bunch of times, and then as you drive, Ken Ham starts talking at you.
Yeah.
We were able to ignore all of that. I don't know how. I have no idea what he said.
Well, because we were about to see him live.
That's right.
We did. The excitement on the face of the girl at the ticket counter who was like, and when
He's speaking right
when
now.
you get to it, Ken Ham is speaking
Yeah,
right now, and he's going to be speaking till 5. He's going or till 5:30. So he's speaking right now.
The girl that had her shoes off so she could count out our change.
Oh.
That's a math joke. So yeah, then we arrive. I don't know what I expected from the Ark Encounter. I did not expect the scale. So we pull up to this. The first day, the bus drops you off at a fucking gift shop, at a bookstore gift shop, with like a convention center attached.
Yeah,
Yeah.
an enormous theater.
A mega church.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was a mega church.
Yeah.
And there was Ken Ham on stage.
Yeah.
Like literally, we walked in talking about how atheists are stupid.
Yeah.
And our beliefs are dumber than their beliefs. And
Oh my God! And that's literally what he was talking about.
I felt
His
so
whole-
seen.
Yeah, exactly. So we sat there for a minute. I walked all the way up to the front of the thing and took a selfie with him right behind me. Because they just let you walk into this thing. This isn't like nobody paid to go to this lecture, this sermon or whatever. They were just there, and so I was just like, it's not assigned seating. I was just like, I'm going to walk all the way up to the front and take a selfie with him in the background.
Yeah. But remember that we discovered this when we got there. They were having a weekend conference called Answering Atheists.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
that's why it was so. That's why they did the Ray Comfort movie, and why there was an invitation from American Atheists to go.
Had I known that, I would have interrupted Ken Ham and been like, Ken, I'm an atheist. You can answer me.
Yeah.
I'll ask you some real atheist questions instead of the very, very easy straw man that you have set up for yourself.
It's very easy to win an argument with an atheist when there's not one on the stage.
Right. When they're not there, boy, they ask the stupidest questions.
Hey, Ken,
Psst, it's me. I'm one of them. Ken, it's me.
But
call on me.
Yeah, I mean, they have the full mega church experience. It's like massive screen with like super high intensity projectors.
Oh, they've got they're doing well for themselves.
When Ken loses his shirt, he is going to lose it all the way.
Boy, I'll tell you. And they had that kind of media center in the middle with like 4 giant news cameras trained on him.
Yeah.
Why do you have 4 cameras?
From the same vantage point.
Yeah.
Right, all from the same angle. Right.
Not how cameras work. So we sat there for a minute.
It does work.
Right.
It just doesn't give you any different.
Maybe it's stereoscope.
Give me camera 2, take 2, and camera 3. Take camera 3.
We got bored and we hot-footed it about 4 miles to the actual Ark, which I will say is big.
It's
oh my God,
so big.
Here's the thing. It's a stupid endeavor. The Kentucky as a state was foolish to have given them the sweetheart deal that they gave them to build this thing. Yeah. But it's impressive as fuck.
It's hard not to be impressed by the scale. They got that part right.
So enormous. Yeah. And here's the thing. They had to do. Look, if you're going to make an actual ark, and you're going to, and the whole point of this ark is to make the argument that the biblical ark story is possible, which it is not, and we'll discuss that. The thing you have to start with is, how can we get thousands and thousands of animals aboard a boat?
Yeah.
And I think the starting point is, how big can we make a cubit?
start with the big.
How many? How long? What's the longest? Find an 11-foot tall man,
right,
and measure from the outside of his elbow to his very tip of his fingers, and let's start with that.
Yeah.
So they
remember even Freddy Krueger's arms stretched out to like cover the whole street. That's a cubit,
right? Exactly. So
it's 18 feet.
So they started with the biggest cubits possible,
super cubits,
and made this enormous boat. And then, speaking of aspirational, we got to where the crowds were going to be. Now, granted, mind you, we're going there on a conference. Like, they're holding an Easter conference
on Easter weekend. Big family weekend.
This has got to be one of their big weekends of the year, and I'll be damned if there wasn't 7 people at least going in the line. There's enough switchback stuff available to them that
for 5,000 people.
5,000 people could have been waiting in line to go into this thing.
And as Doug and I walked, you were filming us from behind.
Yes.
As we walked towards the front of the line, between us and the little booth, where far distant, where you had to show your wristband to get in, there was not a single human being.
No, it was crazy. It was like an apocalyptic scene.
In fact, on this big Easter weekend, if we had left the Ken Ham's, country gift shop and sprinted like Tom Cruise through all this, across the 2 miles of parking lot, through the switchbacks, up the ramps, through the entire fucking Ark Encounter, back down, out to the gift shop, you would not have bumped into a single person.
Right.
Yeah.
So you would have thought it was closed. It's not. It wasn't closed. We went in.
Yeah.
I think it's not closed, it's foreclosed.
Well, not quite yet.
Just any day now.
That thing will keep limping along for a long time.
But yeah, we got in the first floor, the first part when you walk in.
This is okay.
Yeah. You wow them, right?
Right. This is the big splash. We're gonna really knock your socks off.
This is your opening number.
Behold, my chicken coops.
Right, and there they are, boxes made to look like they're sort of made of reeds and woven material with sounds coming out, animal sounds coming out of them, unlabeled, and we don't get to see what's inside.
And a lot of them.
Yeah.
Hundreds and hundreds of these boxes.
And it's just the laziest goddamn thing in the world.
You think you'd walk in and it's like, oh my God, elephants.
Right, yeah.
Right. Oh, giraffes.
Right,
Something
exactly.
spectacular. It's like, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
No, it's invisible chickens. They couldn't even get fucking chickens. They sell it at the snack bar.
Right, yeah. Just boxes that they assure us have something inside.
Chickens are not something you even have to recreate.
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
They do it themselves.
Right,
And as we'll get to, they had models of velociraptors and
Yeah.
tyrannosaurs. You couldn't... Did you run out of money before you got to chickens?
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
They did.
Yeah, they did.
So yes.
There's a whole lot of running out of moneyness to this place.
Yeah.
So we can walk the length of the boat. We can see the keel, and we can see the stern or whatever.
And the thing is, 1,000 feet long,
It's so
1,500 feet long. I mean, it's
And
just
so empty.
yeah,
Yeah.
As you pointed out, almost the size of the Titanic. They actually showed us for scale. There's a
yeah, it's like 2/3 the Titanic, right, or something like that.
It's probably 3/4 or more.
Yeah.
It's an enormous boat, and the first thing we get to see is a whole bunch of noisy boxes.
Noisy boxes, a lot of clay pots, and a lot of fake bags of provisions.
Yeah. Clay pots that are meant to have what, fresh water in them?
well,
or
that's
something?
the thing. It didn't even say for the first long stretch of the museum. There's almost no labeling or signage.
Yep.
Right.
It's like a fucking Pier 1, right? There's just
It's like the back. It's like the back of a Pier 1.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the back room,
Stock
the
room.
stock room of a pier of a. Yeah,
And there's
it's a wicker nightmare.
it was throughout the whole thing was this sense of they spent, I don't know, $20 million on this building, and then they had $4,000 left for exhibits.
Right.
And so it is 85% empty space.
Empty.
Right. Yeah.
Empty of people, but also just empty of exhibit.
Yeah.
You know what? We should also mention that, like, when they first opened, I saw pictures of it, and it's. And by the way, as we were driving in, the one thing I did hear Ken Ham say was that it was the largest timber frame structure in the world.
Yeah.
Which I believe.
Yeah.
The wood on the outside has gone gray already, and looks pretty shabby. I'm just going to mention.
Yeah. Well,
It hasn't aged well.
it was Noah's first boat. Let's
It's true. We can give him
gives the kid an A for effort, okay?
give him a pass on that. But then we go up to the second level from the boxes level.
And that's where the crazy begins. They used that first floor of invisible chickens to ease you into what was coming. The not invisible pterodactyls.
Oh my God.
And you're not kidding about that.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing.
I walked over and looked. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Really good looking models of pterodactyls in a wooden box.
Right.
Now we know how this is justified. You may say to yourself, we've already covered that there are millions of extant species of animals on the earth today.
Yeah.
And they have to account for all of the extinct species
Yeah.
Yeah.
that all died off post-Diluvian.
And the abundance of species that the authors of our friend the Bible had exactly no knowledge of.
Right, yes, exactly. So they're doing the kind thing.
Yeah.
So as we learned in the Creation Museum, I learned from animatronic who was it? Was it Noah? It was animatronic Noah who was discussing how he did it.
That was the Noah 1000.
Right. Yes.
Actually.
Exactly. And there was actually a touch screen, and kids were touching specific questions on the touch screen, and then Noah would answer that question. And one of the questions was, how do you deal with the fact that there are giant kinds of there's apatosaurs and
Yeah.
and stuff that apparently needed to come with you.
Yeah.
And an animatronic knows, like, well, we don't have to put every species of dinosaur, just every kind.
Yeah.
And there were only 50 kinds.
Right. So like the two-legged kind.
So we only had to have 100 dinosaurs on our ship.
Stupid atheist.
Dum-dums. And also, and I know that you think that they're big, but we brought young ones on board. So they were smaller.
Right.
Not mentioning the fact that, like, there was a year.
Right.
You know what I mean? Do you know how much a dinosaur would have had to have grown in a year? But anyway, there they are in the cages.
Yeah.
We get to see animatronic. Were they animatronic?
No,
they were still
animatronic.
They were still.
I wanted animatronic dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. So, they're pterodactyls or whatever the fuck kind of flying animal it was.
Right.
Which are big animals. Were big animals.
Yeah.
And they're folded up. Their wings are folded up into that weird position. And they're in a cage that is probably 6 inches larger than them in every direction.
For a year.
That animal is not going to survive.
No.
Right? It's going to atrophy and die.
And die of infection from its own shit.
Yeah. Well,
then here's-
no. They explain the
that's
shit
true.
thing.
That's true.
They've got an answer for the shit thing. And again, the engineering and science that has gone into
That's right.
answering some of the basic questions about, like, poop and all this
Yeah.
stuff is impressive. Like, they have a whole system where poop rolls out of each of the cages into a thing. They get it down into a thing.
There's
They
an
put it-
elephant on a treadmill.
There isn't. No, you are not lying
Yeah.
about that. That is not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
They've got an elephant on a treadmill to convey the poop up in a Swiss Family Robinson conveyor that goes up and dumps it into a cistern that's in the middle of the ship that then drops. That's then open to the ocean below.
Yeah.
Oh my God! It is so crazy.
So there's a giant column of water.
Yeah.
And when I saw it, I thought, oh, this is their freshwater cistern. It's the toilet.
It's the toilet.
And so there's inside the ship splitting the keel.
Right.
Right? The
Right.
keel is bisected.
Right.
Which is not how wooden boats work, or any boats. And there's a giant elevator shaft of water at the height of the ocean surface.
Right.
Inside the ship that this conveyor belt dumps.
Which I found insanely clever, actually.
caca
I
into.
found it amazingly clever. I'm pretty sure it couldn't possibly work, actually. I mean,
It
here's
could
the
be
thing.
made to work now.
Yes, it could be made to work now. But, like, first of all, a wooden boat, like every ship maker that has ever existed would say that a wooden boat of this size
Could not possibly
would
float.
the first bit of rough water, it would
break
just
into pieces.
break into pieces.
It'd twist apart. Yeah.
And so it definitely couldn't withstand having a hole in the keel.
Yeah, a massive gap and a slice in the keel.
But what a clever solution.
Well, and it's so funny because leaving aside the very strange decision that they had to put dinosaurs on the ark.
Yes.
Right. They admit that dinosaurs are now extinct. So
oh
I
my
would
God.
say 50 or more % of all the cages had dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Right.
So Noah brought all of these animals that would die out in the next 100 years.
Yeah. Why? This is what is so baffling about this apologetic is the flood is your great get out of jail
You
card.
could just say they all died in the flood.
They lived until then,
And they all got buried
They
deep
all
in the
died in the
mud.
flood, but for some fucking reason,
Yeah.
they're like, no, there were some on the ark.
Well, no, there is a good reason, which is that if the dinosaurs were there, if there was an animal that existed, God said it had to go on the ark. Two of everything.
Oh,
So if they were there, they had to be on the ark. That's their big problem. So then, and then they all had to get off of the ark. The dinosaurs
Yeah.
that were on the ark had to get off of the ark. Then furiously evolve into all of the other kinds of dinosaurs.
And go extinct.
At a dead sprint to whatever part of the world they were going to die
You know,
in.
I want to say that's a good point, Uncle Dan, but I don't feel like it is. Well, you're right.
Right. We've also talked about leaving aside how all these animals came to the ark or were brought to the ark.
Yeah.
in the greatest kind of curation of a zoo in history by people who didn't know what was over the next mountain.
Right.
But at the end of this year-long journey in this methane-filled, fuck-stinking, shitty barge of death,
completely unventilated.
they land on Mount Ararat, and then they open the door.
And it's just
And the bloodbath
carnage.
Right.
that would have occurred once all those cages were open.
Yeah, within a 50-mile within a 10-mile radius are both of the sheep that exist, and all of the lions that exist.
Exactly.
And all of the Allosauruses that exist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, fuck the lions. The lions are dead too,
Right.
Because there are dinosaurs.
Well, and I love there was a great diorama that
If dinosaurs were on the Ark, we would not be here today.
Exactly. There's a great diorama where they just got off the Ark. They're praising God. They build an altar and they sacrifice a lamb.
Right.
It's like, hey man, you only have 2 of those.
Well,
now 1.
Well, no, there were 7 because there's because all of the clean animals. There are 7 pairs of them.
You are Johnny on the spot with this narrative,
Well,
man.
look, dude. I mean, I'm like trying to follow how they're doing this because I've been saying, I'm impressed with how they've sorted this out. So I was trying to follow it, but there's this other thing, which is that you're right. They open the door, they let out all of the animals onto land that has been underwater for a year,
and there's no food.
Tell me what the food is.
Right. Each other,
and that's it.
Right. They were prevented from and remember they're carnivores now,
right?
Because of the fall of man. Now, of course, they're still vegetarian animals, so I don't fucking know how
they gave the herbivores.
They're still ruminants.
They gave the herbivores like a 2-day head start.
You're right.
Well, I mean,
not enough.
I'm sure that if you ask Ken Ham, he has got a whole thing about the order in which they would have been let out and
for
like
sure.
how they, I don't know, like. Well, they let the lambs out for long enough that they made more sheep, and we got a lot of rabbits going real quick. They're
right. So that means the dinosaurs were on the Ark for 5 years.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Right, and then they died.
Can we talk about the antediluvian dioramas? The pre-flood.
Yeah,
those were phenomenal. They had that one that was like a coliseum. So the dioramas of how man was bad before the flood.
I have to say, those were
amazing.
Of all the work that people put into the various things in all these in these 2 museums.
Oh, whoever did that.
Those were spectacularly good.
They were great.
Yeah.
They're these little models.
Yeah.
Human beings about 2.5 inches tall.
Yeah.
But like gorgeously rendered.
Yeah.
And
beautifully sculpted.
And they're representing like how the wickedness of mankind before the flood.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, I want to go to there.
Yeah. There was a party
there was the fuck temple, which looked amazing.
And literally was a fuck temple. There were women in sort of clothes that were only loosely hanging on them, walking men back into the temple. And then there's this god, this golden god that they're worshiping
with this like python head that is gorgeous, but I'm like, that is nowhere in any anthropological, in any archaeological record.
But it was such a cool, well-imagined, well-rendered thing. Yeah. It was so great.
It was a beautiful world. And then in the next thing, there's like this party going on in some wicked king's palace. And it wasn't until we got home later, and I kind of zoomed into the picture I took, that there were homosexuals there.
Yes. I didn't notice that.
There were 2 strapping men with their arms around each other, and one had those like pearls and things all over his face, like Xerxes in the 300.
Right, and there were scantily clad ladies dancing for our pleasure.
It was very licentious.
And then
I was just surprised that and this was a theme for all of us. There were lots of things that I was like, you let your kids look at this? Do you know that you're Christians?
Yeah.
There was the Colosseum one. Pardon me,
which was awesome.
It was awesome, but there was this Tyrannosaurus or something coming out of the Rancor in Return of the Jedi.
Yes,
and they had put gold on its horns.
Yeah,
and it was killing all the people in there. And it's like there was
a giant with a spear stabbing a woman back into to get killed by the Tyrannosaur or whatever.
It was
great. And like a king gleefully watching. It was amazing.
It was really good
I don't
stuff.
know what movie they were doing these.
I want to see that movie.
Yeah.
Pure Flicks, you need to make that movie.
That's the movie.
Yeah, but these claims. Okay, so there were dinosaurs on the Ark. And then there were civilizations before the Ark,
Right.
that incorporated dinosaurs,
Yeah.
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And yet, all that evidence seems to have been lost.
Gone.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And no evidence.
They had dinosaur-sized antechambers to their colosseums.
Well, here's the other thing. We know that the flood killed all the people and all the critters and all the livestock and basically everything that wasn't on the ark dead.
Yeah.
And we know that all of the fossilized dinosaurs that we found, many, many layers deep into the earth, those were caused by the flood. Those were the non-surviving dinos that were buried by the flood and the sediment that came with the flood and blah, blah, blah. Why weren't there people with the dinosaurs
in the sedimentary layer?
in the sedimentary?
yeah.
Why weren't there cows? Why weren't there all of these other creatures in those same layers?
Yes, modern
with those dinosaurs.
modern animal life.
There would be a layer of just bones around the entire planet.
Right.
Exactly.
And
the flood would have an amazing, from whatever that was, 4,300 years ago.
4,300
Yeah,
years ago.
that layer, which is probably about 7 inches below the surface in most of the world,
Right.
would be
Bones.
yes, it would be a casserole of bones.
Well, and
mass grave.
or we would at least find these pockets of human bones everywhere.
yeah,
Everywhere, and since they are depicting humans interacting with dinos regularly, why aren't they together? Anyway, let's move on. As we continue through the thing, there was a delightful display for kids, which on one side had a quote that I was like,
it
"Whoa."
said, and all but the 8 people on the boat died.
Yeah.
And it was in this really cute little kids section.
Yeah.
Right, there are all these storybooks, and it was kind of
Not storybooks that you could read. They were behind plexi.
which is where books belong. Dan.
Right, exactly. but it was a display showing just how many kids' books
This is a
this
museum.
Noah's story was made
This is
into.
a museum for people who lock up their books but won't lock up their guns.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Because they know what's really dangerous, right?
Well, yeah, and they know, yeah, truly.
And the other one said, if I can convince you there was no flood, I can convince you there's no heaven or hell either.
Right.
Right? And I was like, yes, Ken Ham.
That's it.
Thank you.
You
Thank
did
you
it.
for that sign.
Right, exactly.
Can you wrap that up for me?
Yeah, exactly.
To put in the studio.
I'll take 2.
Yeah.
So then we meander through a lot of displays.
I mean, a lot, but not a lot. And then
There were huge swaths where there was nothing at all.
Right, you're just in the boat. That's
yeah.
true.
hundreds and hundreds of feet of just hallway or ramp.
Yeah.
Just to give you, I mean, it was basically what they had built was a gigantic monument to the impossibility of itself.
Exactly.
Right. And
There's just no way. I mean, let me tell you something. One of the most impressive moments in the thing is to stand at the base of there's a section in the center that you can look up and see all the way up to the top of the ark, and there are these enormous full
Timbers.
trees
Yeah.
that are sort of the things that hold the whole thing up.
yeah.
And you look up, and it is so impressive, the size. You get a real sense of the scale of the thing, and also a real sense of the fact that no 7 people
Yeah.
without like modern technology,
Right.
and even with modern technology,
Right.
could possibly
Who had
have,
never built a boat before.
Yeah.
look, even with good instructions from God, if God's not using his power to hoist these timbers for these people,
Yeah.
you can't build that boat. It's an impossibility.
And this is again, this is the absolute insanity behind this project is of all the Bible stories to choose to die on.
Right.
The most cataclysmically absurd one
Yeah.
is Noah's floating
The
zoo.
most obviously metaphorical one.
It is so stupidly terrible.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
It could only work if you're not aware of most of the species on the earth.
Exactly.
right.
You can't like
Or boats or any fucking thing. Or
I'm sure to ancient Hebrews in the Middle East who were aware of 17 species of animals,
right.
Yeah.
this seemed like a reasonable thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got your camel, you got your sheep, you got your goat.
There's
We're
a
good.
hyena somewhere, maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows what there
Your
is?
greater owl, your lesser owl.
Right. Yeah. an ossifrage and
Yes, and an ostrich.
and a lion for honey.
And just one owl, and then it turned into to greater and lesser later
of its kind.
That's right.
Right.
So, and that's what's just so fucking crazy about it is you've picked the worst thing to defend this vociferously, and then somehow you found $30-40 million to make it happen.
Yeah, and they have that time lapse video that they show at the Ark Encounter about it being constructed. It shows like 50 earth movers and dozens of cranes, hundreds, if not thousands, of people,
for 2 years,
to build this thing. And it's kind of like, well, that's impressive,
right? And this is exactly the same thing that we keep talking about: is they keep accidentally giving away the game, right? And so where there were dragon legends in the Creation Museum, there's this big, really terrific infographic of all the flood stories and myths of the world,
right,
including Utnapishtim,
right.
That is the last fucking thing these guys should be talking about.
I know, it's
is
so
Utnapishtim, which is the story that if you don't know it, we talked about it in episode something, but it is lifted. Noah is lifted directly, from that myth, that story in Gilgamesh,
right.
So,
P.S. I just looked it up. Ark Encounter cost $102 million to build.
Jesus,
fuck me. That's what's
crazy.
So these two museums, what I realized that what is wrong with this fucking country can be found in its completion, in its totality, in those two museums.
Yeah.
The absolute rejection of facts that you don't like.
Right.
Right. Of willful ignorance, of misinforming your own children. That is the epicenter of this plague.
Right.
Right. And there's $102 million at least out there to back that shit up.
Yep.
Thanks, Hobby Lobby.
Yeah. Well done, Kentucky.
Walmart.
State of Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
shall we move on?
Should we build to the big finale?
Oh, okay. Coming up,
Banana Man.
Banana Man.
All right, let's move on. Gentlemen, I know that we are all fans of cinema.
Indeed. Well,
which doesn't explain what happened last night.
No. Fans of Nouveau Stupid.
Well, so here's the thing. When we found out that the convention we were going to was in Cincinnati, which was less than an hour's drive from the Ark Encounter, we were already going to go.
Yeah.
But then something happened.
Something amazing happened.
Somebody told Ray Comfort, who is if you don't know, a sort of Christian.
He's a YouTube personality.
He is, and a PureFlix, a sort of god of the PureFlix world.
Yeah,
he's a strange little fellow from New Zealand.
Yeah,
who we'll get to what he does.
Anywho, he got wind of the fact that God Awful Movies was here. The fellows from that shout out, and they did a live show, and in the promotion of this live show, American Atheists sent out an email that said, "Hey, by the way, this is going to be happening," and name checked Ray Comfort and said anybody who, these said that God Awful Movies is a show that takes down stupid Christian movies like those of Ray Comfort. Somebody sent that to Ray. He found out about it and put out a YouTube video that said, "Well, if the atheists want to stay at their stupid convention and listen to a bunch of atheists talking about how there's no God, they could, but I've got an offer for them.
If they're brave enough, they can come to me movie."
Yeah, so he challenged anyone to come from the atheist convention. If we brought our badges, he said, he would give us free parking at the Ark Encounter. He would give us a free entry into the premiere of his movie.
The world premiere.
The red carpet gala.
He would give us a free banana split.
Right.
Which is his bananas are his signature thing.
And we'll tell you why.
And he would give us a free signed copy of his book, Banana Man, signed by both him and Ken Ham.
Now, it's also what's important to note here is that because every YouTube Christian is a victim desperately in search of a victimizer.
Yes.
He took the language of the American atheist saying, the Gamcast boys take down Christian movies, meaning take them down a peg.
Meaning make fun of.
Right. And he's like, they want to take down my movies and burn my books.
They want to censor me and make it so that my movies don't exist anymore.
Yeah, and I think it bears saying that Ray Comfort is a profoundly dumb man.
And I don't speak for every atheist, but I don't know any atheist who really wants his shit to go off of YouTube.
Right. First of all, some of it's quite delightful.
Yeah.
We have a lot of fun with it. But the other thing is we're not book burners. We're not anti freedom of speech people.
Yes.
So get on with your bad self.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody telling you we're gonna
Ray Comfort, when
we're
you're
gonna ban you or
when your street corner megaphone runs out of batteries, tweet me. I will bring you some.
right. Yeah. Exactly.
You keep going, baby.
As we'll see in the theme of his movie is he basically just steps on rakes for YouTube constantly.
I think he steps more on banana peels, but he's an absurd little man that had a shtick.
Yeah.
That he did for many years. He called it stand-up.
He called it a stand-up comedy routine. It was just a lecture that involved
a bunch of straw men and canards
and visual aids.
Yeah.
Yes. So
object lessons.
He would say that atheists believe, paraphrasing, that a Coke can just came into being by forming itself,
right,
painting itself, printing itself, filling itself with fuzzy brown liquid, and then he presents the banana.
Behold, and he always presents it exactly the same words. For 20 years, he's been saying the following phrase: "Behold, the atheist nightmare."
Nightmare.
The humble banana.
Yeah.
But
and then he proceeds to do the filthiest fucking
that's right
aristocrats level fucking comedy bit,
which
without knowing he's doing it,
right?
And he still does it,
where he mimes and then actually fillets a banana. It's
so over the top and so. I feel like it should be pixelated for young kids.
You couldn't do that on Saturday Night Live.
No.
They would censor that bit. It is so pornographic.
Yeah.
It is so fucking suggestive.
And the whole point is, as absurd as it is to believe that a Coke can could form by itself, it's equally as absurd to believe that a banana could form by itself.
Right. That's
the
his
point he's trying to make.
Well, that it's got a tab at the top, and it's got 5 ridges.
So perfectly created for humans.
And it fits right in the mouth, just like this.
Right.
Let me do it again.
Just like a... and if you work at it, if you work at it, you can get it all the way down your throat. Look at this.
And he makes eye contact with the camera the whole time.
Exactly. Get a POV shot over here.
So once the banana thing hit the internet, of course, atheists, and not even just atheists, like everybody who can see what this poor stupid man is doing to himself.
Objectively funny.
It's objectively funny,
right? Yeah. And Kirk Cameron is standing by, going, "Don't do the banana thing. Don't do that." Okay, well, we're doing the banana.
Yeah.
All right, fine.
And so anyway, this movie is ostensibly about how this poor dumb guy, who our friend Noah insists is absolutely fucking insidious, and I don't fully disagree.
No, I do disagree. I do not question the sincerity of this man.
But I also think he's anyway.
He's disingenuous a lot of the time.
Right. Disingenuous. He's dishonest because of how he edits things.
Right.
Yes.
But he's sincere in his beliefs.
He's sincere in in his desire to sort of save people or whatever, I think.
So this whole movie is about how he's taken this challenge God has given him, which was basically, I made an absolute idiot of myself on camera.
Yeah.
Right.
And people made fun of me, and it gave me a sad.
Yeah.
But now it has given me this door into the atheist world where I am obviously evangelizing to them, and it's working. Shut up. There's no evidence of that.
When God closes a personal dignity door, he opens
a doggy door.
he opens a window.
He peels a banana
into the world of atheists. But somehow that's a good thing.
Before we get into the meat of this cinematic tour de force, Uncle Dan, as a person who performs live on stage, I wonder if you have a feeling about the incredible opening act.
Because he had an opening act.
Oh my God!
Yes.
A guy came out on
A
stage.
65-minute YouTube clip movie had an opening act.
Yeah, exactly. A guy comes out on stage and he's introducing, and I thought he was introducing Ray Comfort. No, he says we wanted to bring out, a celebrity like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Homer Simpson to open the show, and I was like, oh my God, I know what's happening right now.
It's a warm-up comic.
It's a warm-up impressions comic.
Yeah.
It is Australia's greatest impressionist, apparently.
Australia's greatest Christian impressionist.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
So they didn't categorize it. They just said he's their best impressionist.
I kind of put that together later.
Here's the thing. He does, you guys, he does more than 200 voices. And like 3 of them are good.
Right.
Yeah.
3 of them you can figure out who it is.
Right, yeah. So that was, and he didn't have any of what I would call, jokes.
Yeah.
No.
But boy, some of these Christians, when you tell a Christian they're supposed to laugh and that it's God's thing, they're going to laugh.
Yeah.
They will give you that laugh.
I do feel bad for them because for people completely deprived of and starved of humor,
right.
when a little bit comes in, they are there for it.
Right.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
they are falling. I mean, these are people who their pastor tells one really bad joke every 60 minutes of sermon, and they all just fall out of their chair.
These are people who would laugh at the Banana Act, at Comfort's Banana Act.
Right.
Unironically.
Yeah. Oh, they would. They would think it was hilarious.
Right.
So yes, we suffer through 15 minutes or 10 minutes of bad impressions
Of a man just dying on stage.
And just keep bearing in mind that we have been through a lot at this point.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You know what? Our brains were oatmeal by this point. If anybody could make us laugh, we were there for it.
Yeah, sure.
I was thinking, I'm sitting there thinking of Sarah McLachlan singing over images of a pterodactyl in a cage. Right? So this man definitely also failed to lift my spirits.
Oh my God!
So,
Yeah. So then he introduces Ray Comfort. Ray Comfort comes
kind
out,
of shambles out on the stage with his iPhone.
Yeah.
introduces the thing. By the way, he acknowledges that some atheists, I don't know how he got their names.
I think they must have told him.
Another group
Yeah.
from this convention were there, and he name checked them, and they sort of stood up and took a wave. We were not name checked.
No.
That was nice.
But it bears mentioning, too, that at least we had a little bit of sugar in our systems now.
Yeah, it's true. We'd eaten those disgusting banana splits that they gave us.
That's right. We got the aforementioned banana splits.
Which was a little plastic cup with a scoop of ice cream, about a sixth of a banana,
Yeah.
and a disgusting melange of toppings,
All of the
all
toppings.
mixed together.
Kind of a pineapple toothpaste topping.
Yeah, and pineapple and chocolate and
And a little gynolotrimine and something else.
Yeah.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So at least we had that sugar high going.
And as I was sitting there in a room full of religious fanatics for a big event,
Right.
and we're all eating the same thing,
A
I
very
paused.
big room.
I paused. I'm like, you know what happens next, guys?
That's right.
We're on the cover of Time magazine. People are going to say, oh, yeah. In the future, people are going to be saying, oh, they ate the banana split, huh?
900 Christians and 3 atheists died today.
Right. Yeah. So we did manage to survive. The movie started. Ray accidentally fucked up the name of his own movie.
Yes.
Yeah, which was The Fool.
Right.
And he thanked the guy who edited it by first name only.
Right. Yeah.
And then just kind of wandered off
And,
stage.
and maybe that guy was glad for that.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then he just kind of shambled off stage.
And by the way, we had gone. I wanted the signed book, and
Yeah.
I had found the table of his organization, which is called Living Waters Ministry or whatever.
Yeah.
And there were copies of DVDs of the movie we were about to see, but no books. So I was like, oh fuck, am I going to have to wait until after this movie? Do I have to stick around until after this movie and deal
wait
with
in line.
the thousands of people wanting to shake this man's hand? Fortunately, I mentioned it to them. They were like, "Oh no, you can. Here's the book. They, there was a little bit of question. Not everybody knew what was going on. They finally sorted it out, and they're like, okay, here's your book. So we had our books before the show. We didn't have to stick the whole thing out.
Yeah.
That felt good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we worked the system a little bit. So,
And I actually thumbed through the book, and that's when I had sort of, believe me, it is an easy read.
It's like
It is. This is.
it is a large print, 1.5 spaced,
Right.
138 page super pamphlet.
Yeah, it is so. It is junior high level reading at most.
Yeah.
So I was quickly sort of getting the gist of what it was, and then the movie starts, and it's the movie of that book.
So going through the movie, he sets up the whole banana thing.
Yeah.
And then he got humiliated by this. And so everywhere he went, people are like, oh, Banana Man.
Yeah.
And on the internet, he's Banana Man, and everybody calls him Banana Man. And his feelings are hurt by this.
which you can always. I felt a little bad. I'm like, that must suck.
I didn't.
Yeah. I don't hate fail videos. No. And so it's a fail video.
But one thing he failed to do is understand the central joke of why this thing had gone viral.
He still doesn't seem to understand that.
Or he's very cynically choosing not to understand
Yeah.
it so that he can play up this narrative, because the narrative of the book and of the movie is, boy, I was a ding dong. Boy, I made a big mistake, but it opened all of these doors for me.
But it continues, as Doug says, it's just a man stepping on rakes.
Right.
And then trying to make lemonade out of a rake. And so
Well, when life gives you a rake,
a rake
when
in
God gives you a rake,
in your dumb Kiwi face. So
make
then
lemon rake.
and by the way, Ken Ham, Ray Comfort, Southern Hemisphere, can you fucking come get your garbage?
right.
We have enough problems here.
Look, we realize that we export a lot of stupid into the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Send Paul Hogan back and take these two
But
yahoos.
we don't need any more stupid
Right.
in
Yeah.
our country. We're full up.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That stingray killed the wrong Aussie. so anyway, it's again he's also this kind of star fucker.
Yeah,
So he
big
keeps
time.
trying to reach out to people like Dawkins and Penn Jillette.
Pin.
Gillette and Richard Deakins. And so
That
he
is nothing like the accent.
It is.
Shame on you.
It is pin banana.
Well, you've gone into a register only dogs can hear. I like that.
Dogs and Penn Jillette.
Right.
So he keeps kind of reaching out to these celebrities to try to can we have lunch? I'd like to meet you. And so he sends
And quasi celebrities too. Like he brags about having lunch with YouTube atheists.
Thunderfoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The leader of the atheist movement, Thunderfoot. and then he interviews him in a fucking parking lot.
I know.
They were
Yeah,
sitting by a busy street in an office
It
chair.
really heavily features this parking lot interview for no apparent reason. It's so weird.
Yeah.
So he sends a DVD to Dawkins, who he's convinced is the leader of the Church of Atheism.
Right.
So he sends Dawkins this DVD.
Our Pope, really.
And he says, as is my custom, I wrote on the cover, I would like to hear your thoughts. But as I do, I spell thoughts Thorts. Thoughts. And then I forgot about it. So Dawkins gets this DVD.
Yeah.
Goes, the fuck is this idiot?
Right.
And says, look, this ding-dong banana man sent me a thing that says Thorts.
Right.
And then Ken Ham's like, Ray Comer's like, and I was humiliated.
Right, exactly.
And it's like, hey,
Stop humiliating yourself.
and this is your movie.
Right.
Why did you put that in your movie?
Right, you just scored an own goal. What are you doing?
You scored an own goal and then put your own goal in your own movie.
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's like, look how my life of unforced errors has led to a life of minor celebrity via the banana.
Right, and that's the funny thing about the conceit of this film is that because the conceit is that I did bozo things and the Lord used that to open up doors.
Yeah.
He has to outline all of the bozo things that he's done.
And they are many.
Oh,
Yeah, and
it's cute. I mean, look, as we discussed on the way home from this thing, this is 5 minutes of movie stretched out into however long it is. We didn't stay for the whole thing.
We finally left.
Right, and so there's moments of, I talked to Lawrence Krauss, and Lawrence Krauss is like, hey, man,
Yeah, he keeps
you do you, like, whatever.
Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah.
but Lawrence Krauss has this amazing question that he look, it's your movie. Don't leave the really imponderables in the movie that you're trying to inspire. Because Lawrence Krauss has this great moment where he's like, so you believe in a God who would sentence people who sin to eternal damnation?
I do.
He's like, yeah. And that's the God that you believe in? Yeah, I do. That's horribly immoral. What a monster of a God. Yeah. And he's like, no, that's just God.
That's God.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you just left unanswered one of the great glaring holes in your own theology.
And what's so crazy about it is he is the most deceptive editor ever.
Yes,
he does
normally.
He'll
and
do
this
things.
This is where Noah is completely right.
Yeah.
Yes.
He is a scummy fucking polemicist.
Yes.
And I don't care if he believes it or not at this point.
Right.
Because what you're doing is fucking lying via these heavily edited videos.
Right.
Most of his videos are like him editing together. He'll have an interview with a prominent, like
YouTuber,
or a big, a genetic engine or an engine
like PZ Myers or
some geneticist or something.
Yeah.
And he'll edit it so that it's like, I don't believe in evolution.
Yeah, yes.
You know what I mean?
You have convinced me of the truth of genetics.
It's not an exaggeration. And he'll do those things where he'll ask the question and then end the interview before they answer the question.
Right. Yeah.
And he'll pull the mic away halfway through.
And then talk to us about what the answer might have been.
Right.
After I asked this question, he thought for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's like...
But not on camera.
He also answered it, and you didn't play it, fucker.
He said, I had with a single question, I got like 18 people to change their minds about abortion in 30 seconds. And we're like, oh, shit.
What's the question? And he never showed.
Moving on.
Right, yeah.
Wait.
Right.
He never showed. And in fact, when Lawrence Krauss, wherever they were, agrees to sit down with him, Lawrence Krauss keeps saying, no editing.
Yep.
Yeah.
We go start to finish. You don't make one cut in this. And he's like, I never do. I agree. And then he says, these atheists typically edit my videos to make me look stupid.
Right. Which is funny because what he's talking about is not people doing an interview with him. Because he keeps saying, I did an interview on this show and they played the whole thing and let me witness the gospel.
And then we had lunch
on their show, and then we had lunch. But then his complaint about atheist editing is because atheists are editing it for comedy purposes.
Right.
They're not trying to misrepresent his position.
Right.
They're trying to make him look like... They're just trying to have fun with it.
Because atheists don't give a shit about people witnessing. It is like, we are immune to it.
Right, yeah. You're not convincing us, but yes, we'll hear you out. We'll ask you questions that you have no answer to.
Yeah.
You will have no answer to it.
Listen.
And then you look like a ding-dong, and you think you just proselytize.
We edit
us.
ourselves for comedy.
Well, if you talk to me for 20 minutes about the gospel, and in the middle of it you fillet a banana,
right.
I'm going to cut that piece out for everyone to see.
Right,
I'm sorry,
I'm gonna,
because
we're going to...
That's the fun part.
Yes, exactly.
It is. I mean, I respect his sad determination to make every one of his life's useless, unnecessary failings into some kind of triumph.
Yeah.
Right.
But he also failed at that.
Oh, God,
and, if he wasn't such an insidious, duplicitous, poisonous fucking thing, I'd feel bad for him.
Yeah.
Because he is a pathetic figure.
Yeah.
He's a pathetic
very
figure.
much so.
He's debasing himself and lying to people in service of something that is just unjustifiable.
Yeah.
Well, and a lot, and also the other thing that this movie makes clear is that he is just a ding dong whose bread and butter is actually being on a street corner, yelling at people.
Yeah.
He did that for 10 years
in New Zealand.
In New Zealand, then he came to the U.S. and did it here, and somehow he's managed to parlay it into.
A somewhat successful...
a ministry that makes some money.
Probably a condo with a parking spot in Florida somewhere.
Yeah, he makes enough money that he was able to give us all banana splits. By the way, his big offer
Yes.
that was just for us
Was another lie.
was another lie.
Yeah.
everybody got free parking. Everybody got into the movie for free. There was no charge for the movie.
That's
to,
right.
to
Yeah,
get
and
into
the
the
banana
movie.
split was free.
There was
Yep.
a banana splits were free for everybody.
Yep.
Yeah.
The only thing that he gave us that he didn't give to everybody was the book.
As
And-
a
and-
signed script.
And
for
we
the
don't
movie.
know that because we didn't stay till afterwards.
That's true.
Well, no, I do know that because they only had a few of the books, and they were under the table, and they were definitely like reserved for us. So that part was good. This signed sort of paperback pulp book.
Doorstop.
So if you would like to watch Ray Comfort's The Name of the Movie He Forgot the Fool at the premiere, probably wait a couple months, check out YouTube one or two times.
But don't, because there's nothing there. It is it's there's nothing to watch.
It's sad and vapid and terrible.
As a matter of fact, when I was talking to Noah from God Awful Movies, I was like, "Don't bother doing this movie." He was like, "But." I told him it's the same as the book. Noah, you handed your copy of the book to
Noah, yeah.
those guys. Noah said he read it in 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, you don't need to watch the movie now. It is the book."
Yeah.
It's unparodiable. It's so dumb.
Yeah,
know?
he was pretty excited though to have reading material to go with it. So they might actually do the
Well,
thing.
Well, to your point about it being sad and pathetic, I think that pretty much sums up the entire day. That was a long, sad, pathetic day.
it was a really depressing day, because we did have some laughs.
Yeah, I had some fun.
And we definitely had some fun, and we tried to make the best of it. But at the end of the day, when you see that there's $102 million plus behind making people stupid,
Yeah.
that there's it's an industry in this country, on the level of like the fucking auto industry to keep people that stupid, and it's hard to laugh at it when there's a bunch of 9-year-old kids standing in front of you.
Yeah.
Looking at a display about how, explaining away the curse of Ham.
Listen, I still maintain that in 8 years we're going to start the stories are going to start pouring in about how like I was a believer in Christianity and then I went to these goddamn museums and suddenly I was like, "Oh, no, this is not real." Because all of it, the harder they try to explain, the more absurd it becomes, the more clear its absurdity becomes.
Yeah.
So I think that for me was the big takeaway.
Yeah. So let's hope that's true. And with that, now that we have died for your sins, dear
Yeah,
listeners,
you're welcome.
and we are risen again on this Easter, just barely.
Yeah.
Lots of love. Let's move on.
Well, friends, that's it for this week's show.
Hey, we'd love to hear from you. Send us an email, howto@howtoheretic.com.
Or if you would like to hear more about a new species we discovered, the Archaeopteryx,
Boo.
you can leave us a voicemail at 903-88-HOW-TO, which is 903-884-6986. I'm also on Twitter at HowToHeretic.
Yeah, you could have seen our tweets from the thing. Anyway, thanks so much to our patrons.
Thanks to Cody Layton for editing the show, and thank you so much to the American Atheists for a terrific weekend.
Yes, and thanks all of you all for tuning in.
Bye, friends.
Bye-bye.